to the Fiasco Sports NBA season previews. I'm Matt Sampson. Joining me once again, Todd Lewis. Thanks for coming in, mate.
No worries.
We've got Toronto Raptors on the cards, but quickly we've got to make a shout out to Sporties at the Arca Bar. They've been nice enough to let us film here every morning, so I know the staff's been letting me in nice and early, and thanks to them. Check them out. Facebook is going to be in the description, and if you're in Adelaide, it's definitely worth coming to check them out. But Toronto Raptors, Todd, it was a bit of a rough start to the season, but then they got things going, and it was one of the better years in Raptors history, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, this is probably my favourite team in the East. They've just got so much athleticism, and they're so exciting to watch. I enjoy watching them. Obviously, Kyle Lowry, one of their best players. He was at Houston, being a big Houston fan.
Yep.
I loved him when he was there, so I wanted to keep following him. And then you start watching the rest of the team, and it just makes you excited. Blokes like DeMar DeRozan, just Terrence Ross, he was just dunking everything. So, they're awesome to watch, and I think they'll be good this year.
I think I've always had a bit of an affinity for the Raptors as sort of the underdog in the league, because I think before this season the only banner that ever raised was their Atlantic Conference banner from about 2007, 2008. So there hasn't been a lot of accolades heading Toronto's way, and being for all the Australian fans, being a Port Adelaide supporter in the AFL, people you get knocked a bit, especially in Adelaide. So I love that underdog sort of. I think, if anything, Canada is the sort of Port Adelaide of America. Yeah. Sort of, no one really wants to associate it with the rest of America.
That's probably a pretty fair call, I reckon.
But they had a really good year last year, sort of, in the end. They finished third in the East, which is incredible considering where they were before that, and 11th overall, 48-34, and a top 10 defense, which is really their strong point, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's good for them, and I reckon this team can pretty much do anything this year. If anything, the East has probably got weaker because with Paul George going down for Indiana, and obviously the LeBron move, that makes Cleveland pretty strong. But other than that, I reckon Toronto could finish second, third, fourth, anywhere up there. If they can find what they found last year after Rudy Gay obviously left, they were just able to move the ball so well, and they had all these options on the court. They were so unpredictable, and I think they've got potential to finish really high in the East, being a lot weaker conference in the West. Yeah,
I think I've got them slotted 5th in the East at the moment, but I'm with you, and I can see them. Those spots through 3 through 8 in the East, I really struggled with putting a lot of teams. I mean, you've got your Cavs and your Bulls, which will probably lead the conference, but then anyone from the Wizards, Toronto, Miami, anyone could fill out those last 2 home court advantage spots. And I think the only reason I put the Raptors down was because last year was the first year they were really sort of good, so I wanted to see them back it up before I really slot them into a definite 3rd seed. But I'm definitely with you. These guys have an abundance of talent. Yeah. They're a really great defensive team, and they were 13th overall in the league for points per game last year, so they can fill it up on the other end as well, which really helps. We've seen teams like the Bulls, which were the best defensive team in the league last year, but dead last in points, and that was their downfall in the end. Their strength I've got written there, like their tough athletic backcourt. Like you touched on Kyle Lowry, who's just a pit bull, isn't he?
Oh, he's just awesome to watch. Like watching, he probably goes harder to the rim than any other point guard for his size, especially. Like no one will get in that guy's way.
He's a big-bodied point guard, and he can just barrel his way in there. And DeMar DeRozan as well, I don't think gets enough credit for being a really tough player too. I think he was he was top 10 in the league for free throws per game, so it shows that he really takes it to the rack, which was something he struggled with before, because everyone jumps on the Raptors when they had Rudy Gay, as it's all contested 2s and long jump shots, but he does get to the rim.
And that's his strength as well, DeMar DeRozan. You want to see him going to the rim, not only because it's his strength, but because it's exciting as well. For this team, if they're not playing as good as they were last year, the one thing you want to see is these athletic players getting to the rim. That's what people want to watch. That's why we watch the game, basically, for those exciting moments. And this team has the cattle to create that.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be a team that's worth watching when they're up and about running those wings. And they've got so many athletes that even guys like Amir Johnson, who doesn't set the world on fire as a scorer or anything, but he threw down a crazy windmill midway through last year. So even their big guys can get up. But those big guys we've got listed here are sort of the weakness as well.
Yeah.
When you look at guys like Jonas Valanciunas, or Valenciennes, as Charles Barkley calls him. But they're still sort of developing, aren't they?
Yeah, well, definitely. You touched on defense before, though, but I reckon that always starts in the front court. No matter what your players are, they can be raw and they might not be putting up as bigger numbers, but the fact that they had the 9th best defense, that's a credit to those guys in the front court, because they're obviously protecting the rim and creating that defensive pressure. So I'm thinking these guys can really take it to the next level. They could be a much better defensive team with the year they had last year under their belt. Yeah,
and we've seen Valanciunas has been playing for Lithuania at the FIBA World Cup as well. So while a lot of NBA fans don't like their stars heading off and playing extra minutes, it is good for younger guys to get more mileage on those legs. And, he's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
We saw towards the end of the year that he really started to come into his own, and he is just a monster of a man.
Yeah.
He's a giant, and once he starts to develop that post game and start to use his size and bang down low, I think he's definitely going to become a really valuable piece to this team.
And he's a bit of a cult hero as well, I reckon. I know I have a Raptor friend, like a friend that's a Raptor fan, and he definitely loves Valanciunas. Like when he's up and about, he's just like that big guy, like European, and it's just like, he does exciting stuff in a different way to the athletic kind of guys.
And he sort of strays away from the path of most European guys, doesn't he? And that everyone sort of thinks that they're stiffs that just shoot threes these days, but he's a low post scorer who really has a big body that if he can utilise it, should become a big time scorer, a big time defender. But we've got to look at guys that they've brought in and lost this season.
Yep.
They've added Lou Williams, who I think is going to be really exciting to see, because I think I've touched on it about 50 times already in these previews that my favourite players to watch are the gunners.
Yeah.
Guys that just have no conscience and just try and light it up as much as they can. And that is entirely what Lou Williams is about.
Well, he just fits into the mould, doesn't he? Because the rest of the team is pretty much like that. Like, obviously, they've got consistency with it because they played so well last year, but he's going to fit into this team perfectly, I reckon. This is the team for him if he wants to just start lighting it up at any point in time.
Yeah, and he's going to be another offensive weapon as well, because they've lost Gay last year, which did help everyone sort of get more shots and start to develop as the way they scored. But having more weapons is never a bad thing, is it?
No, definitely not, and that's what they need to do. I don't see this team as a rebuilding team anymore. They're young, but they've proven they can do it. So why try and play for draft picks or whatever? They're in the Eastern Conference. They're in a weaker competition, so they need to keep adding to this team and maybe try and make a big trade during the season and get someone better to make them even bigger in the East and challenge teams like Cleveland and the Bulls.
I think the other guy they've added, James Johnson, is actually a sneaky big get for them as well. Because we saw in the playoffs last year, they got eliminated by Brooklyn, and Joe Johnson, who's a bigger bodied guard, just torched them. He just absolutely blew up in that series, because they don't have a guy that can sort of match them on the perimeter. Because as good as DeRozan is and as athletic and exciting as Terrence Ross is, they're both not real elite defenders. So to have a guy like James Jones, who's about 6'8", 6'9".
James Johnson.
James Jones is in Cleveland now, isn't he? James Johnson. He's going to be going to Toronto, and he's got a big body. He'll be able to get out on the perimeter, and it won't matter if he catches a couple fouls really quick, because his only job is to be out there to frustrate and try and shut down those guys. So sneaky big get there, I think. It's
definitely underrated. Defense wins championships is the old cliche. So they definitely need someone bigger, like you said, with Joe Johnson lighting it up. They obviously identified that as a key area and have gone and added to it in the off season, which is good by the GM and the...
I want to touch on the rookies that they've brought in this season as well, because there's a few really interesting things going on there. They brought in, with the 20th overall pick, they took Bruno Caboclo, who I'm hoping I'm saying that right, is been lauded as the Brazilian Kevin Durant. who on draft night, Fran Fischilla said that he was 2 years away from being 2 years away to be ready to play in the league. So a lot of people thought it was a stretch, but I saw him play in Summer League and he was double-digit scoring every game, and he's actually going to be joining the team this year. So having another exciting wing is going to be interesting for them, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if he can be as quarter of the player that Kevin Durant is, I think they'll be pretty all right with that. And if he's putting up double-digit numbers in the Summer League, that's a good starting point, because you see players, I know personally from Houston, last year Terrence Jones had a huge Summer League, and then he came into the team and fit in straight away and got the starting power forward spot. So don't underrate what players do in the Summer League. That is important in what you could see in the real season.
Yeah, and I watched the way that he played, because I was really interested to watch him play after he just sort of surprised everyone on draft night, and he scored in a way that's going to be effective to the team. I think he was hitting spot-up threes, he was taking it to the basket, getting free throws, so be interesting to watch him play. But I want to talk about DeAndre Daniels as well, because they drafted him in the second round, but he's actually going to be playing for the Perth Wildcats this season in the NBL, which I'm not too sure how happy I'm about that as a 36ers fan. I never really want to see Perth doing well. But yeah, DeAndre Daniels heading to Australia, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, well, if he's half the tool that Ennis was, hopefully, if we can get along with him, but I don't know. We don't want to see Perth doing well, do we?
Yeah, I want to see him have a good year for the Raptors, but I probably want to see him have a good year for the Raptors in Toronto. And the last guy I want to talk about was Lucas Nogueira, who, once again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was a lot of people will remember him from the draft the year before as the guy that couldn't fit his cap on his head because his afro was so massive. He's a rim protector, crazy shot blocker who hopefully will add some depth in the front court there. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but Toronto's building something here, aren't they? They're adding pieces, and they're, like you said, they're no longer a rebuilding team. It's more of a retooling team, and every year they're going to just try and get a little bit better. Yeah,
definitely. Well, they've got to see themselves in the mix. Like I've said it the whole time, but yeah, they've got to see themselves wanting to make it some noise this year, because they had such a good season last year. They had a disappointing first round exit, and they want to improve on that, I think.
Yeah, and looking at the crunch time five, as I've been calling it, the guys are going to play the bulk of the minutes this season. We touched on Lowry, DeRozan, Ross Valanciunas and Amir Johnson already, but these guys, the thing that I found most interesting was all of these guys' production improved once Gay left the team, and they really gelled as a five-man unit. And heading into this season, who would you pinpoint as the guy that needs to not maybe improve or be the best contributor this year?
I don't think he has to improve, but I think DeMar DeRozan is definitely the key. He's been touted as a great player ever since he got to Toronto, and I think if he can take his game to the next level, that's the kind of... They need a kind of go-to guy when things start heating up in the final minutes, and I think DeMar DeRozan can be that guy. The way he attacks the rim, that's what you want in the final minutes. We saw LeBron, when he was having his struggles, he was taking shots from mid-range or three, and now you see him in those crunch minutes going to the basket, attacking the rim, because that's what he's best at, and I think that's DeMar DeRozan's strength. So you want the ball in his hands. So if he can improve and be that go-to guy that's just like that, you know it's going to DeMar, and you know he's going to give you a good shot.
Well, he's started to prove himself in late game situations a little bit as well. I think he's hit a couple game winners. And I'm with you definitely. Like a few years ago when he signed his contract extension, he signed, I think it was about 4 years, 40 million. And the Raptors did that during the season. They could have left it till the end of the year, but they locked him away straight away. And heaps of people slammed him for that, saying, he hasn't proved himself. All he is a scorer. And I love my Gunners, but I did sort of agree with them that they overpaid him. And last season he showed that he can be an all-around player as well. He upped his assists, he upped his rebounds, he started getting to the rim more and getting more free throws. And I'm definitely with you. He was the all-star that they picked. It could have been Kyle Lowry, but they went with DeMar DeRozan. He's on the Team USA team at the moment, which is something I've talked about. Guys, once they get on the Team USA team, it's like, and they evolve. They come back a better player. So DeMar DeRozan, I definitely think, is one of the keys. I'm really interested to see Valanciunas. get some more game time as well. We've talked about him already. Terrence Ross, I think, is the weakest link here. Sort of, we haven't seen consistency from him yet, but he doesn't have to be the number one guy. So it's interesting. My number one, though, that I've picked out is Kyle Lowry, because he has just signed a 4-year, $48 million extension. And we've seen it before with Lowry, with guys like Trevor Ariza, that they, in that contract year, they play awesome. Last year, almost 18 points, 7.5 assists, 4 rebounds, which is like top 2 or 3 in point guards. Yeah. And once they get their money, they sort of drop off. So, Kyle Lowry, how do you see him performing this year?
I think he'll go awesome. I reckon he's a really underrated player. He obviously does get a bit of like coverage, I guess. Last year, I think he was top 10 in the MVP race at one point on NBA.com, and I think, he's definitely going to have a great season. He's so consistent. Since he took over that starting role at Houston when Aaron Brooks went down, since then he's put his name on the map. He deserves the money he's getting. He's just, like you said, a little pit bull. He will attack the rim. He's probably one of the best and1 players in the league. Yeah, I think he's definitely a big key for this team, being the point guard and being the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands the most. Yeah,
I like how versatile Lowry is as well. He's not defined by any particular skill.
No.
You know, he's a versatile scorer. He's a pretty good distributor on offense. He hits the boards really well for a guy's size. Aggression. That's the thing you want out of him. And that's the only thing that I'm worried about is I want to see him be as aggressive this year as he was when he didn't have this money locked away last year.
Yeah.
So
I think he will be. I think that's a lot of that is on instinct. Like you play a lot of sport on instinct, and his aggression is just what he does on a basketball court. He doesn't know another way, so I don't think he'll have a problem with that. He's obviously got the money underway, but this guy just loves playing ball, I think. So I think he'll definitely improve on his numbers. Maybe not improve on his numbers, but I don't think he'll fall backwards at all. Yeah,
well, I think he just has to toe the line, and the Raptors will improve as well, because everyone's going to improve around him. And as long as he can be consistent like he was last year. I mean, he had a little bit of a reputation earlier in his career as being a bit of a coach killer, butting heads. But like you said, that's just that natural aggression, isn't it? That he's just a competitor. So, you know, I am a little worried about Lowry this year, because I always am with guys that get big paydays. But, you know, he's shown he can be a big-time player, and he's really the focus now, which I think is what he wanted early in his career. He wanted to be a focus, and now he's proved he can be. He's going to get it.
Yeah, he's always wanted to get to this point, I think. So the fact that now he's there, I don't think he's going to stop. He wants to be known as the guy.
Yeah.
So, I think we can expect big things from him.
Yeah, all right. But moving on, we've got to hit the Believe the Hypotheticals. We've got to give a quick shout out to the boys at Believe the Hype. All their info is going to be on the screen. Check out their social media platforms, and most importantly, listen to the podcast. It's a really great listen. A couple of Aussie guys that are really smashing it. Their prediction for the Raptors this season, Todd, is that Drake forces his hand and gets Masai Ujiri, the GM, to re-sign Damon Stoudemire to a 10-day contract just so he can wear the 20th anniversary throwback jersey for one last time.
Yeah. No, I'm glad Drake's done that. Like, that's a great jersey. We all love that jersey, and to see him wear it would be awesome. So, I'm pretty happy with that.
I think that jersey, we'll put it up on the screen, is one of my favourite ones of the last few years, because the Raptors really embraced that Jurassic Park phenomenon. That's why they're called the Raptors, and that jersey is one of my favourites. The purple Dino top, which, you know, Vince Carter, great names like that. Mighty Mouse, to see him come back would be pretty incredible. I don't know how possible that's going to be. I don't know how old he is now. He'll be pushing his 40s, but I think someone like Kyle Lowry is a bit of a Mighty Mouse now as well. He's a pretty small guy. He's pretty aggressive. He can light it up. But anything with Drake involved with the Raptors, I think is pretty awesome.
There's one other person I'd really love to see wear that jersey, the original Raptor, Chris Bosh. That would be pretty good, I reckon, if they could get him just to come over for a couple of games. And
I was really disappointed that the Raptors didn't make peace with Vince Carter and bring him back this season. I think he would have been really cool to see, have that sort of swan song in Toronto, come back and, you know, make peace with the fans that he abandoned years ago. One thing though is, not only is this uniform fresh and it looks awesome, but it's also going to be really clean. If if Drake brings his lint rollers, keeps those tops fresh. You know, I'd love to see Drake out there in the timeouts just cleaning the guys up. But yeah, that 20th anniversary top, I think I'm almost more excited to see that than to see the Raptors play. It's a wicked top.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, but we've got to wrap it up really quick.
Yep.
We're going to hit the 30-second predictions. Buzzer beater, you're on the clock. What do you think is going to happen north of the border this season?
Okay, I think Toronto, the Canadians, they'll finish top 4 in the East. I'm going to back them in. They're not going to go backwards this year. They had almost their like coming of age last year, and they probably exceeded expectations immensely. And if anything, I think the East has got weaker. You never know what's going to happen with a team like Chicago. They've hardly been able to put a full team on the court for the last couple of years. So if they go down again, Toronto almost become in the mix for a second spot. I think Cleveland are probably still the best in the East. So, but who knows, if these guys come on like DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, Terrence Ross obviously has to step up a bit, I think, and the big guys in the front court. So I reckon, yeah, this team's capable of anything. They've had their coming of age, and it's time to get down to business. They don't want a first round exit again. Yeah,
my prediction is I'm with you. I don't think they're going to finish top 4. I've got them slotted 5th, but I'm backing them in for second round. I think they're going to take down Miami in the first round, I think, so I've got slotted 4th. They're going to take it to Miami. They're going to hit the second round of the playoffs, and it's going to be one step forward. I don't think they're Eastern Conference Finals ready yet. They're not quite at that level, but I think they're definitely better than they were last season. They've got another year of experience under their belt.
Yeah.
And I think that the Brazilian KD is going to surprise some as well. I think he's going to come out, and I think I'm going to back him in for a 20-point game this year. We're going to see a 20-point game from the Brazilian KD.
Well, we'll lose the KD nickname if he doesn't. So
maybe not in Brazil.
Yeah, maybe not.
It's like watching Andrei Kirilenko play for Russia. He's the Russian Michael Jordan.
Yeah, for Brazil, it's like half the amount of points of KD makes him KD probably.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm backing it in. Second round of the playoffs, Bruno's going to surprise some.
Okay.
All right. That's all we got time for here. Thanks for joining us on the Fiasco Sports NBA previews. I'm Matt Sampson. Joining me again has been Todd Lewis. Thanks for coming out.
No worries.
Once again. Check out Sporties. Check out Believe the Hype. All the description is going to be in the description. And thanks for joining us.